Hey guys, welcome to Through the Bible Verse by Verse, a plain and simple study through the entire Bible, book by book, chapter by chapter, verse by verse. We are currently in Genesis chapter 27. We're moving right along. This is an interesting chapter because if I was to title this chapter, I could say, the sowing of bad seeds in this chapter here. And from this chapter, it's going to set up kind of a very interesting. If I'm careful when I say sowing and reaping, because there are a lot of things we can reap, right? Some bad stuff that we can reap. I don't want us to pigeonhole on that because God is merciful, and let us never forget that. But there's certainly some things here that you almost can't help but to notice about sowing and reaping. And Jacob is going to sow some bad seed. Rebecca, his mother, is going to sow some bad seeds. And we'll get to that. And I'm going to show you some things here. And all of this is also due to not trusting God. And I think that's the biggest thing right there. That all of this is due to not trusting God. In other words, what did God promise? And even Rebecca, this is a very interesting thing because keep this in mind. Rebecca was told by God that Jacob would receive the blessing. So she should have known this. Now, of course, this is some 40 years later, but she still should have known this. Encounters of God are not lightly. Okay, in other words, when you have an encounter of God, but so this is very interesting. So let's go on. Let's get into it because this is very interesting here. Verse 1: When Isaac was old and his eyes were so weak that he could not see, he called his older son Esau and said to him, "My son." He answered, "Here am I." Now, the idea, Isaac, excuse me, it's not clear. It should be clear. At some point, Isaac should have known, although the text doesn't tell us. Rebecca was told that the older would serve the younger. Isaac, following the traditional way, his older son Esau is the one he wants to bestow the blessing on. Okay? So my question is that what I'm saying is, what is not clear in the text is, did Isaac ever know, because he doesn't seem to be following, but did Isaac ever know that Jacob would be the promised one by God's decree? So, all right, let's go on. Verse 2, he said, "Look, I am old and I do not know the day of my death." Okay. Now, let me just throw a quick note in here. It would be probably another 75 years. I'm thinking Isaac is around 100 at this time. So that's just anyway. Verse 3: "Take your hunting gear and your quiver and bow, and go out to the field to hunt some game for me. Then make me a delicious meal that I love, and bring it to me to eat, so I can bless you before I die." Now Rebekah was listening to what Isaac said to his son Esau. So while Esau went to the field to hunt some game and bring in, Rebekah said to her son Jacob, "Listen, I heard your father talking with your brother Esau, and he said, 'Bring me the game and make a delicious meal for me to eat, so that I can bless you. In the Lord's presence before I die.'" Now, verse 8: "Now obey every order I give you, my son. Go to the flock, bring me 2 choice young goats, and I will make them into a delicious meal for your father, the kind he loves. Then take it to your father to eat, so he may bless you before he dies." Now, we see this conspiracy then. What is interesting, and we saw this from the beginning, Isaac loved Jacob. He was a man of the field, right? He was a man's man. And Esau was a man of the field, while Jacob was, he stayed close to mama. And so we see this conspiracy here that Rebecca is in on. She is orchestrating this. And that's why I said, she has the word of the Lord some 40 years at their birth, or actually before their birth, or during the time she's giving birth, on who would serve. So, all right. So, let's see where I'm at. Verse number 11. Jacob answered Rebekah his mother, "Look, my brother Esau is a hairy man, but I am a man with smooth skin. Suppose my father touch me, then I will be revealed to him as a deceiver and bring a curse rather than a blessing upon myself." So his mother said to him, "Your curse be upon me, my son. Just obey me and go get them for me." So he went and got the goats and brought them to his mother, and his mother made a delicious food for the food his father loved. Then Rebekah took the best clothes of her oldest son Esau, which were in the house, and had her younger son wear them. She put skins of the young goats on his hands and the smooth parts of his neck. And then she handed the delicious food and the bread, and she made for her son Jacob. I'm sorry, let me read this again. Then she handed delicious food and the bread she had made to her son Jacob. And when he came to his father, he said, "My father." And he answered, "Here am I. Who are you, my son?" Jacob replied, "I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you told me. Please sit up and eat some of my game so that you may bless me." Now, what's kind of interesting about this is they're twins, but different kind of in every way. Esau was extremely hairy, where Jacob was not hairy at all. So but they're twins, right? Born at the same time. Now, so we don't know the voice, right? So he's speaking in terms of the voice. Their voices are different because Isaac is going to realize the voices are different. So not having been around twins a lot of times, that's, this is very kind of, I don't know if this is unique enough to say that this kind of difference is unique. I mean, where one is that much different than the other. Verse 20, but Isaac said to his son, "How did you find it so quickly, my son?" He replied, "Because the Lord your God worked it out for me." Now, this should have been probably a major sign to Isaac, because Esau wasn't a godly person. Okay, just saying, Verse 21. Then Isaac said to Jacob, "Please come closer so I can touch you, my son. Are you really my son Esau or not?" So Jacob came closer to his father, and he touched him. He said, "The voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau." Now remember, Jacob, his eyesight is so dim right now. Which is very interesting. But anyway, his eyesight is dim. We're not told why. In other words, we're not told in a sense even why he wasn't healed, why he wasn't walking in the type of blessing that Abraham walked in. But anyway, verse 23. He did not recognize him because his hands were hairy like those of his brother Esau. So he blessed him. And again he asked, "Are you really my son Esau?" And he replied, I am. Then he said, serve me, and let me eat some of my son's gain, so I can bless you. Jacob brought it to him, and he ate, and he brought him wine, and he drank. So, in one sense, you could probably say that Isaac is kind of overriding his senses, right? In other words, he knows this doesn't look right, but he, I think we all get to that point. We just kind of override our senses. He overrides it, okay? Verse 26. Then his father said to Isaac, please come closer and kiss me, my son. So he came closer and kissed him. And when Isaac smelled his clothes and blessed him, he said, the smell of my son is like the smell of a field that the Lord has blessed. May God give you from the dew of the sky and from the richness of the land, the abundance of grain and new wine. Let's see here. May people serve you and nations bow down to you. Be masters over your brothers. May your mother's son bow down to you. Those who curse you will be cursed, and those who bless you will be blessed. Now, again, right here, it seems to be, he kind of knows the decree, even though it's not clearly spelled out. Notice he said, be master over your brothers. Well, remember, the decree from God was the older will serve the younger brother. All right, verse 30. As soon as Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, and Jacob had left the presence of his father, his brother Esau arrived from the hunt. Almost like a movie, right? Just almost kind of like you timed it as a movie scene. Verse 31. And he also made some delicious food and brought it to his father. And then he said to his father, let my father get up and eat some of his son's game, so that you may bless me. But his father Isaac said to him, who are you? And he answered, I am Esau, your firstborn son. But his father Isaac said to him, and Isaac began to tremble uncontrollably. Who was it then who said, who hunted game and brought it to me? And I ate it all before you came in, and I blessed him. Indeed, he will be blessed. And when Esau heard his father's words, he cried out with a loud and bitter cry. And he said to his father, bless me too, my father. But he replied, your brother came deceitfully and took your blessing. Now, let me stop here, because there's a couple of things Isaac gets wrong in that. One, yes, it was deceitful, but it was also of God. The blessing was rightfully Jacob's from God's decree. The sad thing is Jacob did not have to deceive to get it. I don't know, again, I'm just not sure if Isaac clearly knew the word of the Lord that was given to Rebekah. I'm just not clear on that, but let me see, verse number 36. So he said, isn't he rightly named Jacob? For he has treated me twice now, and he took my birthright, and look, now he is taking my blessing. Then he asked, haven't you saved a blessing for me? Now, Isaac, like a lot of people, is not owning up to his responsibility. He despised his birthright, remember. He's now saying, well, he just took it from me. No, you gave it away, Esau, remember, over a bowl of stew. And that's what made it so bad, okay? You gave it for a bowl of stew. Verse 37, but Isaac answered Esau, look, I have made him master over you, have given him all of his relatives as his servants, and you sustain him with the grain and new wine. What then can I do for you, my son? Esau said, do you have only one blessing, my father? Bless me too, my father. And Esau wept loud. Now, this is going to be repeated later on in other scriptures. But again, a lot of people misunderstand this to mean that Esau is being robbed of salvation, and it is not. He is being robbed of the firstborn blessing, not salvation. Verse 39, then his father Isaac answered him, look, your dwelling place will be away from the riches of the land. Well, this is the blessing here. Look, your dwelling place will be away from the richness of the land, away from the dew of the sky above. Not very good. You will live by your sword, and you will serve your brother. But when you rebel, you will break his yoke from your neck. All right, so not the blessing I think he was looking for, right? Not the blessing he was looking for. But also understand that Isaac is speaking by the word of the Lord. In other words, this particular word, this is not just something he's just saying. You know, this is by decree of God. Okay, so let's see. Verse 41. So Esau held a grudge against Jacob, his brother, because of the blessing his father had given him. And Esau determined in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are approaching. Then I will kill my brother, Jacob. And when the words of her older son Esau were reported to Rebekah, she summoned her youngest son, Jacob, and said to him, listen, your brother Esau is consoling himself by planning to kill you. So now, my son, listen to me. Now, notice even the fact that he's planning on killing his brother shows Esau's character. Verse 43, so now, my son, listen to me. Flee at once to my brother Laban in Haran, and stay with him for a few days until your brother's anger subsides, until your brother's rage turns away from you, and he forgets what you have done to him. Then I will send for you and bring you back from there. Why should I lose both of you in one day? So Rebekah said to Isaac, I'm sick of my life because of these Hittite women. Remember, they were probably loud and crude. We call them ghetto, hood rats, hillbillies. He said, if Jacob, are loose women, by the way, right? If Jacob marries a Hittite woman like one of them, what good is my life? Now, she probably is saying this as a ploy to get, as a ploy for an excuse to send Jacob away. What is interesting about this story here is, while Rebekah had planned only for a few days, a week, a month, maybe a year, she will never see Jacob again. It won't be for another 20 years that Jacob even makes his way back towards this home. So that's kind of the interesting thing right here. In a sense, she does lose both of her sons. And all because of the deception that if they had trusted God, God would have worked it out. That is the sad thing right there. And so now we will move on again, and then we will come. The story now will shift to Jacob, and pretty much the rest of Genesis will be on Jacob, and then his journey, and then ultimately to Egypt. All right, guys. I'll see you in the next study. All right.